At 83 years old, I am one of the few remaining Holocaust survivors, thanks to the American troops who rescued me in what seems like a lifetime ago. Since World War II, I've felt a deep connection to American troops for saving my life, a feeling that resurfaces every year on Veterans Day and throughout the holiday giving season. And so this year I'm saying thank you to the American soldiers of the 1940s by donating $1 million to organizations serving wounded American veterans today. My donation to the Wounded Warrior Project and the Services for Armed Forces program of the American Red Cross is my way of giving back, thanking previous generations of warriors for helping me. I hope this inspires others to give back as well. Even though more than 70 years have passed since my rescue, it's not too late to give back. That's a lesson I hope the next generation recognizes, because it's all too easy to let procrastination give way to inaction. Action is what brings hope to those who need it. I have met many American people who I am lucky enough to call my friends. First, Americans saved us. And decades later, they welcomed us. As a child, I spent most of World War II hiding from Nazi invaders in my native France, where my parents moved after fleeing the pogroms in Poland. Unfortunately, with the German invasion in 1940, we were again at risk. On July 16, 1942, the French police led a big roundup of Jews in Paris. More than 13,000 Jews were detained before being deported to Nazi death camps. The police came to our apartment at 6 a.m. My parents managed to take me to my aunt's home. She was married to a French soldier and was protected. A few hours later, my mother was arrested as she and my brother were trying to get information about my father, who was hiding in a nearby grocery store. A concierge had pointed them out to the police. They ran, but my mother was not fast enough. She was detained and sent to the Auschwitz concentration camp. She perished there, probably within 3 weeks. I was 7, and for the next 2 years I lived on borrowed time, shielded by other families on the outskirts of Paris. The same was true for my future wife, who was also a child in hiding. If the war had continued much longer, we would not have survived. I vividly remember the arrival of the hundreds of thousands of American troops who landed in Normandy to liberate us in June 1944. They were our saviors, doling out packets of sweets to half-starved, war-weary children who had almost given up hope for freedom. The gratitude I feel to these men is beyond words. They freed our country and they saved our lives. Without American troops, my family and I simply would not have existed. I think of that every time I look at our family photos. Since the end of the war, life has been good to me. I've had a successful career as co-owner of one of Europe's largest home appliance retailers, working alongside my bros. I've also enjoyed raising my family, celebrating extended family gatherings of 20 people. My wife and I have a deep sense of gratitude for America. So in the early 1990s, freshly retired, we bought a home in South Florida. I travel with my wife each winter from our home in Paris to the warmth of Miami Beach. We still appreciate our second home there, where we now spend almost a third of our time. I have met many American people who I am lucky enough to call my friends. First, Americans saved us. Then, decades later, they welcomed us. But as I had news stories this fall of hurricanes, flooding and wildfires striking America, inflicting suffering among civilians and veterans alike, I realized that I still had an important task left to complete in my life. I had not yet given back to the American soldiers who saved my life nearly 3/4 of a century ago. That is why I want to help modern American veterans today. They pursue the tradition of the young men who landed on the shores of Normandy in June 1944 and who I will never forget. In giving this donation, I want to thank Americans with all my heart for coming to rescue us in our hour of need. But I also want to make a public stand in support of America. I hope that my donation can trigger a movement and lead others to take action. My story shows it's never too late to give back, especially for a cause that's close to your heart. If it wasn't too late for this octogenarian, it's not too late for you.